Signal. Hey everyone, thank you for joining my Substack. I am Willow, the Authentic Extraterrestrial. I This is going to be the first live that I do. I'm just going to do an introduction and kind of test how things are going to see how this is going to go on Sunday, because Sunday we have a live giveaway and trying to figure out the controls and all that sort of thing. But I am the Authentic Extraterrestrial. That's kind of the label and branding I've been using, in the idea that I just embrace my authenticity as much as I can. I work with extraterrestrials, meaning that I communicate with them, see them, meet with them. There was one here last night. About a week ago, I had a Zeta Reticulan in the room, and very physical in nature. And I have that connection, that experience with them from that level of interaction that a lot of people don't and are trying to create in their experience. And so, what I do is I help create or bring people into that creation of the experience using the skills that I have, which is storytelling activations. I'm a storytelling activator, meaning that I speak my stories, write my stories, and it helps activate people to extraterrestrial contact. And that could be anything, like that could be fairies, that could be angels, that could be Sasquatch, extraterrestrials, galactics, all kinds of stuff. I've experienced it all. It's just we usually use the extraterrestrial label when we are communicating with people, depending on what we're communicating with, rather than going through the whole list. We have, as humans, we have a list of labels we like to use. Rather than going through that whole list, we just usually say the authentic extraterrestrial. And that's because I embrace my authenticity and who I am. Try to, at least in all moments of every day that changes daily, who I am, what I want to do, what I want to experience. And while I do that, I'm always working with ETs that I meet and see out and about. I went on a trip last week and I saw a bunch of fairies, a bunch of beings that I have experienced in the past. There's a frog folk wizard, there's some frog folk beings, elves, there's prehistoric energies in the area, different things of that nature. And so I go about my day. I experience them throughout the day pretty often, and then I help people through spirit art. I do spirit art activations where I draw and help people understand how to communicate with different beings and activate through the energy of spirit art. So many of you have seen the spirit art that I do. I write my books, I write the articles. Substack's been a great place to write articles and expand on different things, to create tools, unlike Instagram and in other spaces where it's just post a reel, 30, 3 minutes. Most of the time, people completely misunderstand the point of the video when we do post them. And Substack's been nice. I've been able to write articles, and the process that I have taken while doing this is to write the content and create tools below. So most people can read things for free, and then the toolkits are for people who are paid subscribers. And then, as part of that paid subscription, the thing that we're doing on Sunday is we're going to do a Q&A on Sunday at 7 Mountain, I believe it is. I'm going to post the content shortly, and then we're going to do a giveaway, and I'm going to start giving away different things that I find on my adventures. Like, I found these little dragons, so I'll be giving these away as a set, as a single set on Sunday. This is a love dragon little figurine. This one is disgust, if I remember right. Yeah, a little disgust dragon. And then there's the love one. See if I want to make sure it gets focused. This one, I believe, is anger. Yeah, anger there. Then we have happy here. And I think this is surprise. I can't read it right now, but surprise. and then fear. So we have these little dragons I found at a toy shop that Spirit guided me to back in December. And this is part of the Authentic Children. Anybody who's been following those articles, the intuitive, uh, the Authentic Children, yeah, that's what I call it. My brain skipped for a second. We talked about dragons a couple weeks back. We're going to be talking about Sasquatch soon. And on the dragon post, there's storytelling activations, there's meditations, there's other stuff. But this was part of that experience of when I was developing that. Spirit guided me to a toy store, and we found these and figured they'd be a perfect giveaway for people who have subscribed, and a way for them to for us to kind of give back and kind of help, kind of, because they're like, I mean, they're not technically just for kids, they're for kids technically, but adults would love them too, and we all have an authentic child within us, and they're just cute little dragons that I found. It was actually surprising too, the timing, because when I went into the toy shop, I found them. I think it was one of the last things I found. I have some other stuff I'm going to give away on Sunday, and the dragon part of this stuff is going to be for paid subscribers, and then and I have to figure out how that mechanic works as we do this, as we go on this journey of figuring out how I pick those. I'm not quite sure, but there will be some other stuff that I'll give out too. So when I went into that shop, it was funny because they just put out these toys. They had just put them out. They had ordered a bunch, and I picked up like the entire set right after. She said they put them out like the day before or something. And I was like, yeah, keep those coming, because I might actually go back up there and pick up a couple more sets to give away at some point. But we'll be doing that on Sunday, and uh, then doing a Q&A and talking more about different things that have come up throughout the week. Some of the I usually do a Q&A on Instagram, and I think I'm going to be slowly moving those over to Substack, where people can just ask questions. And if you have questions, Lynn and Jen, I see you're on. I'm not entirely sure what the um, process is on this app. I'm still figuring it out. But if you have questions, let me know in the comments, and we can take some questions today too. But yeah, I posted the dragon storytelling activation a couple weeks ago. I posted there's some fairy ones. I talked a little bit about fairies again in an article yesterday, and about some of the things that I do, because people often think you have to go meditate or you have to do all these things. And the one big thing I do is I just go out and explore. I just be on the land. I embrace that spiritual aspect of just being and experiencing nature. No phone, no devices. A lot of people listen to music. I haven't listened to music in 2 months. Um, I deleted all my apps. I'm back down to a bare bones kind of phone experience, and there's nothing, no distractions. Basically, is the point. Going out into nature, no distractions, and experiencing just what comes to you in the moment, what you feel, what you hear, what comes to your mind, because the imagination is not all just imagination. It's very real. It's something that is like an extra sensory thing. And when I wrote I think it was my third book, the extraterrestrial book that goes through a bunch of my earlier experiences. When I wrote that, I had looked up the definition on Merriam-Webster, and I think that it's changed now just a little bit, and it's buried. But one of the definitions was something like the perception of things not wholly perceived by the five senses. That was the definition of imagination. And I went, oh yeah, that's just that they changed the way we perceive the word, when really it's about seeing and feeling the world as it is through our other senses. So, um, what else is coming up? Oh, I'm working on my recording my audios for the Authentic Extraterrestrial book. We're up to chapter 4, which means, and I have 4 chapters recorded, which means that I don't know if it'll be tomorrow or maybe sometime this weekend. I'll post those and release those. I'm gonna post those as maybe a daily chapter a day or something, and create. I have to create a kind of a way to link them all together in one spot so people can easily navigate it. I haven't found that on Substack yet, but that's coming out, and I've had some good feedback on the audio. So thank you everybody who has listened and been giving me feedback on that, as far as continuing to do the audio for different posts and things. So, and then we're going to get back to talking about Sasquatch, the authentic children. The next post was going to be about Sasquatch, and I have just been behind doing some things, traveling, my energy being off. The new year coming up tomorrow. I think it's tomorrow. For me, my new year is the is it the soul equinox, right? Equinox is that tomorrow or the next couple of days anyway. So my energy has been changing. I definitely felt winter energy up until a few days ago, and had to deal with a lot of stagnation. And I'm also in a space of not knowing where to go next with everything I'm building. It's like I've built the foundations, but I'm trying to figure out what do I do next. So for now, I'm just chugging along with my projects and continuing forward with the ones that we have already started, which we'll be talking about Sasquatch stories. I'll be doing some probably light code, posting some light codes and different things of that nature. And then I have some other ideas for Substack now that I have a more, the tools over here seem to be a little more, not a little more, a lot more flexible than what I've had in the past. And so I have some other kind of more live oriented ideas that will be happening in the future that I'll be announcing. But right now, the big announcement is that Sunday there will be that giveaway, and we'll be talking about dragons more. We'll be talking about fairies. I had some interesting experiences out in the Badlands that I go to. I went to a Badland, and that's an area in the desert where water has eroded from the surface and gone down and created like canyons and uh, gullies, I guess you might call them, but canyons, and it's like the water sunk into the land and eroded stuff out. Makes it kind of look like you're looking down cliffs, even though they're not really cliffs. They go into the land. They're not above the land. And the one place I go to is very deep. Most of the Badlands you pass by as you drive in through New Mexico, Arizona, they're maybe 50 feet to 100 feet deep. This one's probably 1,500 feet deep. It's huge. It's massive. Lots of prehistoric energy, dinosaur energy all around. Um, and I was walking around, exploring, talking to the fairies. Brought some more of them home, so that was interesting because a bunch of them wanted to come home this time. I think it's probably because I was close to, and I'll be going back to that area. But they guided me to different things, bones. Then I found a jawbone of a deer in the creek bed that has no water. It's probably had no water in 50 years. But there's a deer jaw, like the right or left side. It was the left side, I think. Right. I don't remember. It was one of the sides anyway, just half of it. And I felt like, oh, okay, I'll take that. I've been trying to manifest some bones that are sun bleached by the desert that I can reuse for different things. And I walked and explored, and a bird called me over to a cliffside, and I went into the cliffside, and the fairies, the nature spirits, were all like, "Leave the jaw." I was like, "Oh man, I just found this," and I decided to leave it, and found an orange stone sitting on the brown rocks. There was a pile of brown rocks that had fallen over the cliff. Nothing else, just this brown sandstone, really dark stuff. And there was an orange stone sitting on top of it. And I went, oh, it's a trade. So I put it back and kind of felt like, oh, the spirit of the deer wanted that back there. It felt like it was a going home type of thing. And then the next day I went out and they guided me to a tree and I found pottery shards from what appears to be uh, possibly ancient pottery. I'm not sure, not quite positive. And I have no idea how to identify the age of it. But then at that moment, as I was scouring, I was like, oh, pottery shards just sitting in the sand, and collecting them up. uh, I found, or I heard another bird in the juniper tree, and I was going around the juniper tree thinking there's nothing around here. And the bird is like, yeah, there is. Look over here, look over here. And there was a mule deer antler that was sun bleached. They had guided me up to the antler, which was far cooler than the skull, or the not the skull, but the jaw. It was only a jaw that had half a jaw I had found earlier. And so I got like a full antler from a mule deer. It's a smaller deer. Most people are familiar with like whitetail deer. This one's it's smaller in size, and you don't see too many of them. I think I have them around here. I've never seen them. I've seen tracks, hoofed tracks, and I still haven't been able to tell from the size if it's actually a deer or if it's a like a stray or a random cow or cattle or something. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes we get those animals coming through. But that was the other cool thing. I was wandering around and I kept seeing cow tracks out there, cattle tracks, and they're everywhere, tons of them. But every time they crossed the road, there were only two tracks. And so I went, oh, there must only be two cattle out here. And I've been going there for 5 years, never seen cattle out there ever. I don't think I've seen cattle once. And I go out there and I'm searching, 3 days, wandering, exploring. Spirit guides me down these oil roads, and I come up over a hill, and down at the bottom, there's an area that has been turned into a mud pit. And I was like, well, that's weird. There's usually no water anywhere around here, but there was enough water in the mud pit that it still had some mud. So the rains and stuff, the snow probably melting helped retain it. But there were two cattle, one brown and one black, standing down by it, and they were definitely wild. I started walking up, and they just ran off. They were like, "Nope, human coming, get out of the way." But the land had heard me because I was just saying that. Like I would be out loud. I'd be like, "Huh, I bet you there's just two of them wandering around by themselves," and that ended up being the case. And then as I left, I actually saw an entire herd off to the side a few miles away. And it was interesting because the two cow were by the two of them were by themselves, and the herd was a few miles in another direction. But if we talk to the land, it listens, responds. It will provide different things for us. Anybody have any questions or anything? See a couple people on. We've got V, Lynn, Jen. It says 4 viewers, but I only see. Oh, that's interesting. All viewers. I'm not used to. It says 4 viewers, but I only see 3. Oh, that's interesting. I'm gonna have to look at some of the controls because I'm not quite sure how this works in comparison to Instagram, which is why I wanted to try and make sure the signal worked. So on Sunday again, we're gonna have a free Q&A, a giveaway, and some different things. I'm gonna probably come up with some topics to talk about, and probably around dragons, because we're giving away these cute little dragon things. I don't know what they are. They all had to do with emotions though. And so what else has been going on? I'm trying to think if anything's happened since I've gotten back. I did have an ET show up yesterday. I woke up and I was floating by the ceiling. There was a big ET like trying to get me to come up to their dimensional space, and I couldn't get up there, and I dropped back down and like had that body hit feeling at like coming back into my body, dropping back in. But as I was falling, it was very slow motion, and it was very interesting because I'm like, I want to come up there and go with you, but I can't get up there. What's going on? And they were talking about there's fear, there's density holding you back, needing you need to drop more of that. I was like, where the heck is that from? I'm not afraid of you guys. I literally had a Zeta Reticulan standing here 2 weeks ago. Woke up and was just like, hey, bro, how you doing? What's going on? And uh, physically here and had a conversation, then just rolled over and went back to sleep because they were just working on my energy, checking in. I think they had said they were checking in on energetic upgrade I was going through, and so this one, it wasn't a Zeta, it was something else, something different, but higher dimensional. He was trying to get me to come up. And I was like, what's going on? He's like, fear. You have to remove more fear. I'm like, where's the fear at? It's collective. I'm like, oh God, we need to shift the collective more. Collective is collective fear is um, holding uh, the spaces behind a bit because of everything going on in the collective. But that's something I like to talk about because a lot of people don't realize that the things that they feel aren't necessarily their own. A lot of the things are collective in nature, meaning that you're not necessarily feeling your own fear, your own anger, your own stuff. Sometimes, a lot of times we are, uh, but a lot of times it's not ours. It's collective transmutation going into the city. I had just gone into the city yesterday. I think I went in yesterday. It's crazy how time is like for me. I just don't remember the timing of things. I remember doing things, but I don't remember the timing of things. I think it was yesterday, and I had come back, and I was like, I got back to the land, and I'm like, oh my god, I feel so dense, and it's just picking up energy as you're out and about and exploring. And I was exploring. I found a really cool restaurant incubator that spirit guided me to, and it's like this place that's revitalized, old warehouse type thing, and they just have 30 restaurants, little restaurants you can choose from. They call it a food court, but it's not a food court like a mall. It's a food court like really good food. You just walk up to different counters and get stuff, and it's right by the botanical gardens that I go to, which I never knew it existed until now. And as I found it, I started going, okay, I like this. I'm going to come back. And I went back yesterday and got some falafel. And then I was sitting there thinking, I'm like, okay, well, what do I do now? I came all the way. I need to do something. Anytime I'd go somewhere, I have to explore or do something. I'm really big on exploring because that's how you find stuff. And so many people just put things into the GPS nowadays. Like they put a destination into the GPS, they go to it, and they miss everything out on everything that's around it, everything that's nearby, because they don't just walk around looking for stuff. And so I left the food court and just wandered down towards the botanical garden area and found out that there was a another section that's called Old Town in Albuquerque, and it's like all kinds of shops and different things from a kind of like a touristy thing, but it was interesting to walk around and experience. But in that space, a lot of density as a gridding light, gridding energy, bringing energy in to shift the area. Because as soon as I see, okay, intentionally turn, I grid frequency naturally, but in those spaces, it's like okay, intentionally start doing it. Walk down every single road, all of that, because there's a lot of dense commercial type of energy. But it was really cool. I never would have found it. And after I left, I didn't think about it until I was looking at these little dragon figurines today. I was like, oh, I should have looked around in the shops and seen if there were different toys and things that I might be able to bring back and that sort of thing. Because where I got these up in about an hour and a half away, which is Santa Fe area, and then I got the Old Town Places only. It's far shorter distance. So I was like, oh, maybe I can find something more local. But I followed my intuition, wandered, explored, experienced, and found all kinds of cool stuff. I threw some photos up of the alien ET statues I found that were made out of metal, these big metal things, and I didn't even look at any much of anything because I was in that wandering space of uh, not realizing I was going to that area, so I didn't even go into the shops or look at any of that stuff. But a lot of frequency grading in that obviously brings density, attracts it as you're doing it, shifting and transmuting things. And then I came back, and of course, that night the ETs decide to show up, and I'm like, oh, okay, have more to clear as time goes on. Um, and then, anybody have any questions, curiosities? Let's turn my light on. It's sun's starting to go down. But and then after this, let me know how the signal went, how the signal's going and stuff too, because that's really why I wanted to jump on today, is to make sure I had a good signal strength and kind of familiarity with the tools and stuff to be able to do this on Sunday and more regularly. I'm going to do these more regularly. The other nice thing I like is that those of you who subscribe, so anybody who's watching this later, I believe it does record it, and then anybody who subscribes, please, or not please, it does this automatically. I think if you subscribe, it sends like notifications and stuff when I go live via email and everything else, which seems to be a lot nicer as well. And so, other than that, I don't really have anything. I might just stop it there. Seems like it was a good test so far, although I don't see any text coming through on my end. So, hopefully, that's just a me or just a few viewers type of thing. I think I will stop it there. I'll give you guys a couple minutes to drop something in the comments. Um, and see. Actually, let me see. Let me see what it looks like on my end too. I'm just gonna type the Authentic Extraterrestrial. I'm gonna be releasing that probably. I don't know if it's gonna be tomorrow. I think I already released a couple things this week. What does a comment look like on my end? There we go. Okay. Yeah. Uh, and you can't do anything with it. No, not really. There was a brief blip a minute ago. Will you do this live instead of the IG live? Um, I'm going to start moving stuff here is going to be one of the things. I'm still going to do the Instagram lives. It's free. A lot of people still use them, but the goal is to transition a lot of that audience over to here, because over here I can say whatever I want and they're not going to penalize me. I'm not going to get banned. I'm not going to get have issues, and that's a big thing because on Instagram, we're always watching what we say. There's things that I don't talk about, like 2020 and different experiences back then, and different things that are coming, and all this. Because as soon as you say something or use the wrong word, IG is like, they're on you. Substack is about free speech. They don't, as far to my knowledge so far, they don't, filter or penalize you or anything of that nature. And some people don't like that. There's a segment of people that don't like that about Substack, but I'm big on free speech. We have to be able to speak freely, and that means everyone, good and bad. And the thing I like about Substack is it's very, you choose who you interact with. So you can ignore all the negative stuff and you can choose specifically, I'm going to interact with these people, and you'll never see any of the other stuff. Their algorithm is completely different. So as I get used to it, the idea is to move more stuff here because it's a central point, especially with me writing articles and doing the audio uh, book versions and the audio versions of the articles and all that. It's becoming more of a centralized, or not centralized in the sense of social media, but centralized for me, like my central hub, becoming more of my hub. I've even I don't really use my website much either, and I've even thought about just uh, moving my website links over to my Substack, and anything that was free on there, making it free on Substack, and then creating a services area and stuff, rather than having multiple places and just using it as my hub. My personal feeling, is that as time goes on, people are going to flee Instagram. I've already seen several people that I know who were friends who left completely and are like, we're not touching it again, and moved. And then I'm like, oh, hey, come check me out over here, because AI is taking it over, and the negativity between the AI content, you know, over 50% of what we're seeing on Instagram is fake. Easily 50%. And then with the native content, it's like then you're filtering, okay, what's actually real, what's true, what do we want to focus on? So there's all kinds of stuff like that. I feel like the social media landscape is going to change a lot the next year or two, and I'm preparing for that right now. Me and a couple other friends are doing that, where we've built our foundations in other places. We're still going to use those places, but we're trying to build a stronger foundation in the places that we can speak freely, especially when it comes to things like one of the big things is I'm very for artificial intelligence and technology, but what we have is not that. And I have to be careful of how I speak over there because of that stuff. I mean, I had a situation I spoke about where my finances were blocked by the systems, the corporate systems. Like I literally can't use bank cards and stuff at different stores because they had me blocked. And when I realized that, I was like, oh, you know, uh, the bank is like, it's not us at all. And it's all of these stores that have this particular system in place. And I'm like, I speak adamantly about, I love technology. I think it's here to help, but we have problems we need to solve. And stuff like that doesn't, there's too many problems about speaking about that type of stuff on platforms like IG. And then TikTok, I gave up on. I was so fed up with the negativity on TikTok. It's like just beyond any. I tried to do it. Spirit got me to do it for a little while, and then I was like, I'm not doing this. It's it that one needs to fall away and disappear completely. But the especially extraterrestrial stuff too coming up. You know, there's going to be a lot of talk about extraterrestrials, a lot of fear-based stuff, and I'm not sure what's going to happen once people start really speaking about, hey, they're benevolent, and the system tries to pump more fear in. Uh, I'm not sure how that's going to affect things with how these big corporations like to filter and change narratives and all of that. And I even checked because I was like, what is it, Robin Hood? The Robin Hood movie with uh, oh, what's his name? Um, Russell Crowe, the Russell Crowe one. I bought that a while back for like $1 at the library store, and I think it was there anyway. But uh, I watched it. And like, yeah, it was okay. was decent. I think I sent it back to them. And there's a moment in there at the very beginning where it talks about tyranny and how fighting systems and rising up, and you know the rich being not being the kind of being like against humanity type of thing. There's some quote in there like that. It's in the DVD. It's not on streaming. They're actively manipulating different things. Some of it we know of, actively deleting shows from television series to meet agendas for one reason or another. Um, all of these things, and then now they're actively actually changing scenes, and then now we have AI that's going and changing stuff. Um, things like that. So I'm going to be able to talk more freely over here is part of the point. And that's the biggest thing that I've been looking for. I'm like, I want to talk freely about this stuff and not feel like a topic come up, especially when somebody asks a question. There are a lot of questions I'll just be like, look, I can't go into it, or this is what I can say, but I can't go any farther because I'm on that space. Versus here, I can just whatever it is, ET comes, talk about an ET, something else comes up, uh, conspiracy stuff, whatever. So that's going to be the nice thing about Substack. I'm just not sure how it's all going to work as time goes on. I'm trying to figure that out. And do I do more Substack stuff, less Substack stuff? I don't know. We're gonna find out. But I'll end it there. Thank you everybody for joining. Again, for anybody who's watching this later, I'm a spiritual artist. I talk about extraterrestrials, fairies, galactics, Sasquatch is going to be the next topic I get to with my Authentic Children series. Sunday we're going to do a Q&A with these little dragon figurines as a giveaway, and we're going to be doing a lot more of those activation posts. If you go through my content, always remember the way I design my content is that the first, typically, unless it's completely free, some stuff is completely free. Most of it, though, is free, like for 50% of the way. And then the other 50% is for the people who subscribe. And I try to create my content specifically like that to give people free information that they can use and activate from. And then if you want to go deeper, you can go deeper by supporting the page. So when you go deeper on those articles, especially the Authentic Children series, there are a lot of light codes, a lot of meditations, storytelling activations, bonus content of different kinds. And then what else do I have on there? I have activations I have like 3 hour activations for authenticity, abundance, masculine and feminine energy, which I still have to post. I haven't gotten that posted yet. And fear, removing fear from your experience. And then free books, all kinds of stuff. And there's more coming. The whole idea is to build out a tool, and I'm saving it all offline too, just in case something happens over here. I have it all saved in other places. But the idea is building a toolkit, a centralized toolkit that people can use where you can get a lot of stuff for free. And then those who are supporting me get a lot of bonus stuff, and especially audio. If you're into audio, I've had some good feedback on the audio. I'm not sure how the audio book is going to go. So I'll be interested to hear from people how they receive the chapters when those release. But the part of the paid subscription too for a bunch of stuff to do. But anyhow, much love and gratitude, everybody. Thank you for this test live and experience so I could make sure it was working. Seems to be working fine. And we'll go from there. Hopefully, see a bunch of you on Sunday, and we'll do some giveaways and things in uh, kind of celebration. I wanted when I hit 100 subscribers and I think I'm at like 105, 106 right now. Uh, and then I think I'm up to maybe 20 paid subscribers, which is pretty cool. Out of those 100, that's actually a pretty good, yeah, 20%. That's really good, a really good from a marketing standpoint. From my old days of doing social media and stuff. But anyhow, much love and gratitude. I'll talk to you later.